knowledge, oh God, that we may apply in our lives for a stronger community, for a stronger faith, and that your name will be glorified. Thank you for everyone who have joined and those who will be joining. We pray that your name alone will be glorified. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Nafisatu, for praying for us. Good evening, everyone.
She's still praying. She's still praying. She has not stopped.
She's muted. So
Amen.
I know she stopped. Sorry.
Amen. You can take over, Mrs. Mary.
Sorry, my dear. I'm so sorry.
I said you can take over, Mrs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you once again for praying for us, and thank you everyone for coming. My name is Marilyn Eno. I'm going to be the moderator of this session, and I want to welcome everyone to our platform once again. Today we are here because of our event called Anti-Racism and Multicultural event, and the theme for tonight is United for Equity, Empowering Black Canadians and Building Inclusive Communities. It is not by chance that we are all gathered, but I know that when we gather like this, we learn, we reflect, and we clarify some of the things that we have in our minds. As a community, we go to and fro by ourselves, but when we gather like this, we go far and we learn faster. Tonight, I'm going to ask our head girl to give us a word and open up this platform so we can start. Over to you, my head girl.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. We are happy to have each and every one of you here tonight. Thank you so much for connecting. I can't see myself.
I can see you.
Oh, okay, good. For some reason, I'm instead seeing but that's okay. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Adeline Aja, and we are happy to have you here. Before we start, we would like to just know where everybody is connected from. And please bear in mind the meeting is on live stream on YouTube. And before we start, I would just like to do a land acknowledgement. I am in Ottawa. I don't know where you are, but I would do the land acknowledgement considering the city where I am located, which is Ottawa. And Ottawa sits on the unceded traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, recognizing their millennia-long stewardship and continuous presence with federal bodies often incorporating this into all our acknowledgement. We agree and acknowledge the sacrifices of the indigenous people, the First Nation, the Inuit, and the Métis people, honoring their rights, history, and contributions to Canada. We are grateful for every contribution that they have made in this land. And that said, we want to discuss tonight about racism and how can we fight this racism. We are happy that each and every one of us is here tonight, and we appreciate all your contributions. We will ask that we all remain on mute so that we can all enjoy the conversations. And if you would like to contribute, then you can just raise your hand in the chat and we could go from there. And we do have our dear Nafisatu here that will be helping with translation. She can throw some things in the chat, but if you are here that you're English or French speaking only, please just indicate in the chat that you're French speaking so that we can pause at intervals or after each speaker and translate. If we don't have anybody that is only French speaking, then we will continue the meeting in English. So thank you, everybody. Back to you, Marilyn.
Thank you, Ma Adeline. You went ahead of me there to just reflect on what is going to happen. Thank you. I just want to reiterate that even though we are on Zoom, we would like and we would plead for all of us to stay respectful to one another. Remember, our opinions are from different angles of what we've gone through in life, and perspective may differ one to another. Let us agree, let us disagree in love. Even though it is a Zoom, there will still be zero tolerance to hate speech. This is an academic zone. This is a zone where we want to learn. This is a zone where we want to be able to network. This is a zone where we want to appreciate everyone, and we don't want to know somebody for something negative, for we come in with a very positive energy. Thank you all for coming once again, and we are going to take it from here. Tonight, we have 3 speakers that are going to talk about racism from their point of view. Our first speaker is all the way in Toronto. Our second speaker is all the way from the United States. Our third speaker is also from Toronto. So I'm going to introduce to us tonight our first speaker. I'm just going to read a brief background of the speaker, and then I will let her know what we expect from her as we go on. Our first speaker is called Ajesieni. She is all the way in Toronto. She has an educational foundation in economics and management. She is a multifaceted professional working at an intersector of strategy, delivery, and creativity. She brings experience as a project manager and scrum master, enabling teams to deliver value in complex, fast-paced environments, while also working as a certified hairstylist and educator. An example of a belief that leadership, learning, and creativity transcends industries. Beyond her professional role, Ajay is a mother, a sister, and a friend who values community, good food, and great music. She brings a human-centered perspective to every conversation, blending structure with empathy and practicality with innovation. Miss Ajay, tonight you have 15 minutes on this platform to tell these beautiful people that have gathered to listen to you what you know about racism, what you know about multiculturalism, what you know about the things you know, and what you've lived when it comes to this topic. Over to you, Miss Ajay.
Thank you, Miss Marilyn. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for that introduction. I am Ajesieni, who's just been introduced by Miss Marilyn. Before I begin, I'd like everyone listening right now to imagine something because it's going to be more of storytelling, right? So we can easily relate to the experiences.
Oh, yes.
So just imagine something. Imagine you walk into a room. It could be a workplace, it could be a classroom, or even a meeting. And before you can even speak, you already feel like you have to prove that you belong there. I believe many of us can relate to that part of it. You have to prove that you belong there, not because you're unprepared, not because you're not qualified, but because you can feel it. You can feel the pulse from when you walk into the room. You can feel the eyes, and you can as well feel the unspoken question that goes, how did you get here? And what is strange is nobody says anything outright. No one is openly rude. But you still leave the room at the end of the day feeling smaller than when you entered it. That is what racism often looks like to me in Canada, and I believe to many others. Racism in Canada is not always loud, it's not violent, but it's quiet enough to deny.
Sorry, Miss Ajay, I have a question. Is there a
Yep.
possibility you can come on video?
Oh, my bad, I thought it was. Just a minute. There I
And please,
am.
can we rename ourselves? If you're there without a name, please look at your screen. If you're in without a name, please just rename yourself. At least a first name, we know how to call you. Thank you.
let me just raise that up. Thanks for that, Maijan. So as I was saying, racism in Canada is not always loud. It's not always violent. It's quiet enough to deny it, and it's strong enough to shape someone's life. And I believe that is why we are here today to address this. The land acknowledgement has already been done by Maijan. But before I continue, I would as well like to acknowledge that we are meeting on Indigenous land. To be able to discuss about racism and multiculturalism, we have to do some history and understand where it all starts from. I mention this because conversations about racism in Canada cannot be separated from colonization. Most of us here have a brief idea about Canada's history, so I'll touch on it to get to where I want to go. For better understanding, if we talk about racism without talking about Indigenous experiences, such as the residential schools, then we're not telling the truth. And racism, work with racism, it requires a lot of truth, as hard as it may be to come across. Canada is a country which is blessed, and we always say we are proud of the multiculturalism, we are proud of being welcoming, we are proud of being polite, and we are proud most especially of the diversity. In many ways, Canada is a country of, it's a place of opportunity. Many people have built beautiful lives here. I, for one, I have done that. I can say I have built a beautiful life in Canada. But I think one of the challenges in Canada is that we love the story of multiculturalism. And sometimes we don't want to read the chapters that make us uncomfortable. There are those chapters that we skip over because we are uncomfortable to read or talk about them. Because Canada's diversity is celebrated, but racism is often minimized. And there's this phrase I hear a lot. Many people say it. They always say, at least we are not like the United States. Racism doesn't just disappear just because we compare ourselves to someone else. Racism doesn't need to be dramatic to be damaging. It just needs to be consistent, which that's what's happening. When many people hear the word racism, they imagine hate. Sometimes you have people shouting slurs, someone being violent, but that's not all about only what racism is. It's not only about hatred. It is a system. It is a combination of beliefs, behaviors, and institutional practices that create advantages for some racial groups and barriers for others. Racism can show up in small, everyday ways. Like you have in a conversation, someone can ask you, where are you really from? You answer that question. They ask you again, but no, where are you originally from? Or you can have someone pronounce your name wrong. That has happened to me several times, but I always step in and correct it. Or they can suggest that, oh, your name is difficult. Can I call you something else? Or one thing which happens most especially in the corporate world, they'll say, wow, you are so articulate. That is silent racism. And they would say, oh, I don't see color. When people say I don't see color, what it often means is, I don't want to talk about racism. I believe that's why we're here today, to have that uncomfortable conversation, which most people always skip over. Not talking about racism, it doesn't make racism disappear. It makes it harder to confront. And not confronting something is you're in denial. Let me share something personal. There was a time when I walked into a professional environment feeling very confident with all my educational background, my experiences and everything. I had the skills, I had the qualifications, I came prepared. And yet when I walked into that room, I remember feeling the pressure almost immediately. And I remember I felt becoming smaller. I found myself speaking softer. I was smiling more often than necessary. And I was trying to make sure that I did not come across as too much based on what I had experienced. And what hit me was this. I wasn't just trying to do a good job. I was trying to avoid conforming to a stereotype. Because when you are racialized, you quickly learn something painful. You are not just allowed to be average. You have to be exceptional to be accepted. You have to be perfect to be respected. And even then, sometimes you still feel like you are on probation. I feel that more often than necessary. You start watching yourselves in a way other people don't have to. You monitor your tone, you monitor your facial expressions, you monitor how passionate you sound. Because if you speak strongly, I believe many people have been labeled as aggressive because they spoke strongly. And if you advocate for yourself, you might be labeled as difficult. If you speak about discrimination, you might be labeled sensitive. Over time, that does something to your identity, knowingly and unknowingly. It teaches you to shrink. And the most exhausting part is that racism often comes with denial. Many a times we are in denial because you leave the situation asking yourself questions like, was that racism I just experienced? Or am I imagining it? If I speak up, will I be believed? If I speak up, will I be punished? And that internal battle that you have at that moment is a part of the harm, which has to be addressed. This is why we have to stop treating racism like it is rare, accidental, or imported. Racism in Canada, it's not new. Canada's history includes it. You see that in the, like I mentioned before, the residential schools, the Chinese head tax, and exclusion of immigrants through racist policies, which we are aware of. All this said, people think it's just a rumor, but it's not. It's not just a rumor. It is real. It is rooted in Canada's history. And if you just look at your history a little bit, you would see it mentioned even to recent days. You have different organizations that speak out about this. The reason this matters, speaking about, is that systems don't disappear simply because time passes, because we have the tendency to say, oh, time treats wounds or heals all old wounds. But this is not the case with racism. It would not disappear just because time passes. The impact remains for a long time. It remains in who gets hired and promoted. It remains in who has generational wealth. And it remains in who is protected, and many other things. In Canada, racism often hides behind politeness. It hides behind smiles. It hides behind phrases like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Or someone can say, I'm sure they didn't intend any harm. Or you hear people saying things like, let's not make it about race. Or they'll tell you, oh, you're playing the race card. We treat everyone the same here. One strong thing is equality is often mistaken for sameness. Equality is not sameness. Treating people in the same way in an unequal system just maintains inequality. Sometimes fairness requires us to treat people differently, not because they are less, but because the barriers they face are different. We face different barriers in our lives every single day. And the most dangerous racism is the kind that convinces people that it doesn't exist. Because what we do not acknowledge, we cannot change. So we have to acknowledge the fact that it exists so we can be able to face it head on and look for different means of changing it, bringing about change to it. If we do not discuss it, we have to acknowledge it to change it. One thing Canada is known for is its multiculturalism. That is true. When you ask any person in the world about Canada, the first thing they'll tell you about, the first few words you hear them tell you, it's multiculturalism, diversity, and all that. But it goes beyond multiculturalism, because people think multiculturalism is just about the food, the festivals, and things like that. But it's not just wearing traditional clothes once in a year or going for those cultural festivals. It's not just having diversity posters in the workplace. For sure, I know we all know this, that someone can celebrate your culture and still discriminate against you. They can enjoy your food and still deny you leadership opportunities. You can admire the accent and still you'd seem less professional. And in Canada, we often talk about opportunity, but then we create invisible barriers that stop people from accessing it. The message in Canada we often get is, we welcome you here, but we don't fully trust who you are. That's the silent one which comes behind with all the silent racism. Belonging is not being tolerated. Belonging is being valued. Each and everybody likes to be seen, heard, and valued. So this begets the question, what do we do? What does anti-racism really look like in real life? Remember, I had mentioned before that we might leave a room asking ourselves, is that racism, or am I overthinking it? So if you don't know those silent racist slurs and actions, you would not be able to recognize it. You leave asking yourself, oh, maybe I am overreacting, or that is not racism. Anti-racism is not an identity. It is not a hashtag. It's not just a hashtag posted somewhere, no. It's not a statement on a website, no. It is a practice. It's something we have to do. We have to embed it in our everyday lives. Subtle, polite, gentle, but we have to take action on it. We could do several things. There are several things we could do to combat racism, in my opinion. We should stop confusing politeness with justice. Canadians, we are polite. We are nice people. That's what people know about us. And we always try to avoid conflict. But avoiding conflict doesn't eliminate harm. It just protects comfort. Conflict doesn't mean you have to be harsh, rude, or violent. No. Comfort is a privilege. Anti-racism is just being willing to disrupt comfort when injustice is happening. Step in the spot, step in the gap, stand for it, without being without being rude, without being violent. But you can have your voice heard. Speak up in small moments. Small moments, they might be small, but they are not as small as we think, because it adds up to be something big. I'll give an example. Let's say if someone makes a joke about a racial group, you as a person who is there, you can stand in and say, that is not funny. Or you can as well say, that's not appropriate. Or you can say, can you explain what you mean by that, without being rude again or being violent? But you are standing the gap for that person who is experiencing that silent racism going on. Another example which I have experienced and which I have done and it works is when someone mispronounces a name repeatedly. My name, I'm Aji. It has been mispronounced repeatedly, and I have been asked, oh, can I call you something else? I would smile and say no, and I'll tell you what my name is and how it is pronounced. If I hear someone experiencing the same thing, which has happened to me, I would say no. Let's make sure we say it correctly. If you can say it, I'll give an example of any difficult word a tongue twister from the dictionary. Then you can learn to call this person right. And when you call them right, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel valued. There's another silent form which goes where someone is always interrupted, like their voices are not heard enough. You can stand the gap and you can say, I'd like to hear them finish. Even if you do not want to hear them, you are not really there in the conversation with your full mind. You can stand at the gap at that time to say, I'd like to let them finish. These are simple actions, but they change the culture. Another thing we can do is we need to believe the people who try to tell us the experiences the first time. We don't have to interrogate them or make them doubt themselves and go back to the question, was that really racism I experienced? Am I overreacting? We don't minimize it. We don't rush to defend the other person. No, we should not. We can tell them things like, how can I support you? That little sentence goes a long way. You'll be surprised at how the person would open up to you and truly tell you how they feel. And it's a ripple effect. It just goes to the next person. The story goes to the next person, and the next person copies from what you did, and it becomes a cultural change where you're changing the story. You're changing how people address racism in a polite but yet effective way. There is one thing that newcomers, again, I've experienced it, the Canadian experience. When you get here and you're trying to get employment, and you go with all the confidence coming back with all the confidence you come in with from your country, you have the education, you have the skills, you have the experience, but then you come here and you're trying to get a job. They ask you for the Canadian experience. How does that make you feel? You feel less of the person most often you feel less of the person you really are. I felt that way. If we truly believe in multiculturalism, we must value the skills people bring. not just the skills we recognize. Because no one person can say, oh, I know every single skill. I recognize this skill and that skill. We should be open to learn from different cultures. And learning, when I say learning, education is not only what you learn in the four walls. Someone can be so educated, but yet they are not exposed. They are in their comfort zone. They are in that box. What they know is what they believe is, and that's it. But when they're in that, when they're in the situation, in that environment where we have that subtle cultural change going on, it will rub off on them. Then they get curious to learn more, to know how to be open to accept others. My very first job in Canada, oh boy, you don't know, you guys, you all don't, you don't want to know what it was. I had to do that to get the Canadian experience. Did I feel good about it? No. But did I have to do it? Yes, because it was like a leaping stone to get to where I wanted to be. And the Canadian experience, from my understanding, was not necessarily it wasn't even in the field of your experience. No. Another thing we could do to combat anti-racism is to hold organizations accountable. Because diversity without accountability is just branding. You have many people talking about diversity. They post up posters, they put up hashtags and everything. That's just branding. If no one is held accountable of something which occurred, which was translated as racism, then that's just branding. And that's where the silent action comes in. Accountability, again, can be subtle, it can be loud, but then you have a finger to point. You also, especially in the workplace, we can hold them accountable by encouraging inclusive hiring practices, pay equity reviews, which is a tough one, safe reporting processes, real consequences when discrimination occurs. And to be able to know when discrimination occurs, we have to be able to stand for others silently, but make their voices heard, stand up, advocate for each other, advocate for the next person who is experiencing that knowingly or unknowingly. Maybe they don't know, okay, that's kind of a subtle racism. Stand for that person in a polite way. The next thing I'd like us to discuss about is being Canadians and holding on to the hashtag Canada and its diversity. That's a power tool. That's a strong brand for Canada. But if you look, sometimes that's just what it is. It's a country built on diversity, but diversity alone is not justice. It is known for being peaceful, but peace alone is not equity. Canadians are known for being polite, but politeness is not courage. Politeness alone, courage and politeness, they can work together. But being just polite and not being courageous to stand for someone, that doesn't cut it. It's about being committed. That's what anti-racism is. Committed to listening. You listen to when someone wants to talk to you about anti-racism. It is difficult because we come from different cultural backgrounds where our voices, we shrink, not because of racism, but because you're afraid that your opinion might be taken the wrong way, or you might get misrepresented, misunderstood, and things like that. So given the fact that we have those differences in our cultural backgrounds, we need to tap into it, understand where you're coming from, take the pros and drop the cons, and step into that spot for that person who needs you at that time. They have, at this point, I'll give an example. Like Marilyn said, I am a certified hairstylist. I have an incident, and I had an incident where there was one time I was invited to work at an all-white hair salon downtown Toronto. I had a client because I'm good with my hands, cut, color, all that. That's another side of Ajisieni. This lady booked online, not knowing it was a Black person who was going to serve her, to get her service done. Guess what happened when she came in and saw this Black girl with all smiles, excitement, and everything? She paused. She said she wants to talk to the person who is supposed to do her hair. I'm like, okay, ma'am. The service you want to do, it was a complicated one. It's not a regular hairdo. Not to blow the horns, but you needed the skills, the knowledge and everything to get that hair done and to deliver, because it was a color change and haircut. She hesitated. She was like, "Where are you from?" I said, "Oh, I'm from Etobicoke." Then she asked the question, "Where are you really from?" I was like, "Ma'am, I don't get you. I am from Etobicoke, and I'm here to be." I told her I'm here. I'll be the one servicing her hair. She's like, "Oh, when she booked, she didn't know you were the one doing it." I'm like, "Ma'am, what do you mean by I am the one? You didn't know I was going to be the one doing your hair. You've seen my reviews, and if you saw me on that website and you booked with me, best believe I will deliver. If I do not deliver, then you are guaranteed your refund." She was kind of hesitant. I kid you not, the way the lady held onto her purse all through, like close to her chest, I was uncomfortable. But guess what happened? My colleagues stood the gap for me. They came and they told her, "Ma'am, relax. We have a spot." That's where standing the gap comes in. They told her, "We have a place where you have to keep your bags. Feel free. We have snacks and everything." Ajay, she's good at what she does. This is her specialty. She's going to, that's this put it lightly. And like, when you say where she's, when you ask her where is she from, she's from Etobicoke. Her name is Ajay Siani. And she's, it kind of made her lean back, though not completely. But if they did not stand the gap for me at that point in time, I would have second guessed myself, and maybe I wouldn't have delivered to my full efficiency. So standing the gap, not being not loud, not violent, not rude. Stand the gap for anybody you think is experiencing something like that. Say something, speak out loud. Don't be silent. Don't be just polite and not courageous. Be polite and courageous. It makes a difference. I would close. I'd like to close. Do I have some more time, Marilyn? How much time do I have?
1 minute, so you're right on time.
Okay. Please, I would like to, hi BJ. I would like to insist on the point, please don't be silent. Racism ends when people stop being silent. And I'll leave you with one question this evening. What is the one action you can take this week? One conversation you can start? One moment you can interrupt? One bias you can change to make Canada not only diverse, but fair? Take that home with you and try to do one of these and tell me how, no, don't tell me how you feel. You will feel better, because I know I might not be seeing or hearing from most of you after this, but you will feel better after that. Thank you, Miss Marilyn. Thank you, Canada Virtuous Women, for the opportunity to be a speaker today. I hope I have been able to share my experience, and let's not be. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ajay. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. To me, it came across as you using your way of telling a story, to tell your story, to stand the gap, and to push us to reflect. And my take home when you were speaking is what you said, that diversity without accountability is just branding. And that will stick with me because it goes far beyond this time. Thank you so much. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to ask Ms. Nafisatu if she can just give us a brief of what Ms. Ajay said in French.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. Bonsoir à tout le monde. I'll try to be as very brief so that we can be on time. So thank you so much, Mrs. Ajay. C'était vraiment un moment très intéressant. Elle nous a parlé du racisme au niveau du Canada, et elle a vraiment nous a partagé son histoire en quelque sorte. Elle a commencé par une histoire où elle avait une interview. Elle venait de son pays fraîchement avec ses qualifications. Elle était sûre qu'elle avait l'expérience qu'il fallait. Et dès qu'elle est entrée dans la zone d'interview, elle s'est rendue compte que la tension montait, la pression montait. Et elle s'est rendue compte que le racisme, c'est quelque chose de vrai. On entend beaucoup parler du racisme, mais elle a dit qu'on doit comprendre c'est quoi la source du racisme. Et elle a aussi dit que ne pas parler du problème du racisme ne le résout pas. C'est pas parce qu'on évite le sujet que cela résout le problème. On doit apprendre à être courageux, on doit apprendre à pouvoir avoir cette conversation qui n'est pas confortable. Parce que l'égalité n'est pas synonyme d'être pareil. Elle a dit que le Canada, c'est un espace multiculturel un espace que plusieurs ont pu construire des vies merveilleuses, mais le racisme aussi est présent. Ça peut paraître comme par exemple quelqu'un qui ne prononce pas bien votre nom, quelqu'un par exemple qui utilise des expressions qui va vous faire vous sentir mal à l'aise, ou ce soit des choses, ou ce soit une évaluation qui est faite de vous juste à part votre apparence. Ce qui donne l'exemple qu'elle a donné à la fin en disant que elle avait une cliente qui l'a jugée juste à la couleur de sa peau, mais ses collaborateurs sont venus se soutenir. Je vais terminer en parlant des points qu'elle a présentés pour pouvoir dire ce qu'on peut faire en fait contre ça. La première des choses, c'est ne pas confondre la politesse avec la justice. On peut être poli, mais on doit chercher la justice. La deuxième des choses, elle a dit qu'on doit parler pendant les petits moments, que même si c'est une petite interaction, il faudrait qu'on puisse entendre notre voix afin que les soucis, ça ne s'accumule pas et ça devienne une plus grande montagne. Le troisième point, c'est de permettre à certaines personnes de s'exprimer tout simplement et de ne pas entretenir des mauvaises paroles par rapport à d'autres cultures. Et aussi pour ceux qui viennent d'arriver au Canada, par exemple, on vous demande l'expérience canadienne. Ce sont des choses qui sont difficiles à apporter vu que nous venons juste d'arriver. Et enfin, le point culminant que Madame Marilyn aussi a dit, c'est que les organisations doivent être responsables de leurs actes, pas seulement parler de diversité, mais de pouvoir les accomplir. Parce que nous ne cherchons pas à juste avoir une étiquette, mais nous cherchons vraiment à pouvoir vivre cet environnement. Merci. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much, Nafisatu, for that brief resume. That was really well captured. Thank you, thank you, everybody. I know we are here for something that is a storytelling, for something that is our reactions to the things that are happening around us. I don't want to make it all speeches, speeches, speeches. I don't want to jump to the next speaker, but I want to introduce somebody that is not a speaker, that is not under flyer as a speaker for today, that has something to tell us. This person is a byproduct of me. I'm a proud mother. It's my moment. Let me enjoy it. I'm going to introduce to us a young man today by the names of Beltus Bennett Nyambi. He is in grade 6. He lives in London, Ontario. He is my son, and he has something to say when it comes to racism. It is very funny that Miss Ajay came on and she spoke about an aspect of racism, which is called silent racism. The way they look at you, the sneer that they gave you, the body language, the way it comes across, that is not the way it is coming across and everything. Today, I'm going to bring to you an 11-year-old man that wants to talk to not just the mothers, not just the fathers on this platform, but want to touch on something that we can all use and educate our kids that it does exist in our system and how we can look at those things from a different perspective of an 11-year-old. Over to you, Mr. Beltus Nyambi.
Hello, my name is Beltus, and today I'll be telling you about my speech. Silent racism. Let's heal the world. In a world where differences may stand, some hearts are silent, yet still demand that others are treated not as they should, not because of words, but actions misunderstood. Racism is real. It hurts and it stings. But silent racism, it spreads silent wings. It's in the looks we give, the seats we don't take. It's in the chances we miss for someone else's sake. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27 tells us clear. God has made us all in his image. Dear each face, each heart, and each soul, so true, made by God, just like me and you. But in our hearts, do we always see the world is better when we live in unity? The color of skin doesn't tell the story. We share God's love and in all its glory. Matthew chapter 22, verse 39. Call out me. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So let it be. We're meant to care, to be kind and fair. No matter the color, no matter what we wear. Silent racism hides in a glance. In chants we don't a chance we don't give. In the midst romance, a smile, a word could heal divide. But we turn our heads with hearts open wide. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 9. Whisper in the air. Offer hospitality without despair. Invite someone in. Show them your heart. In this world, we play our part. So let's break the silence. Let kindness be loud. Treat everyone equally. Stand tall and stand proud. Let's speak up, reach out, and do what's right. Shine God's love and end the night. Proverbs chapter 31, 8 verse 8 to 9 says, with grace, speak up for the voiceless. Give them a place. Stand tall for justice, for fairness and peace. Let silent racism in our hearts cease. For each soul, in every face, there's a beauty and a truth. There's love and grace. Let us all remember, as we talk through this day, we are God's creation in every way. Thank you for listening to my speech today, and that's all I have to say today.
Thank you so very much. I have one question for Mr. BJ because I know he's going to run and go get ready for bed. Mr. BJ, you have given us what it means by silent racism. What advice do you have for us as parents when our kids come home and tell us the things that they face and then it comes about as silent racism?
What I think about silent racism is that some people just push it away and sees it as teachings for kids. But some people always feel like, oh, how come I get in trouble first before this other person? Oh, how come he gets picked when he didn't even raise his hand? Oh, why this? Oh, why that? We always think about these things. Some teachers just think some kids are better than others because they think they see futures in others. You don't decide somebody else's future because what you see, it's always what they think, what they're capable of. I think that if you believe and you have the heart to do it and never give up, I think you can always reach those stars. I think you can always reach that dream. I think you can always show brighter than you're supposed to be. I think you can be a better person than you are today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. BJ. God bless you and thank you, everyone. BJ is one of the advocates for Black voice in his school and his class especially. And he writes a lot or he reflects a lot on things that he may want other kids to be included. So I cannot take gratitude for this moment, and we give it all up to God for using him in the ways that he is using him to help other kids and help himself because he's being bullied a lot, growing up, changing communities and everything. But my heart is really glad when he comes home and he talks about these things because it gives me that peace that he knows where he belongs and nothing can take his identity. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna shoot right up. I don't know if we want to give an interlude of asking questions to the first speaker or let every other speaker speak, and then we can raise our hands and ask questions. And as a community, we do question and answer and we do reflections. What do we think? Somebody can
we
unmute
just
from the
write our questions down and just if people have questions, they can write it down or drop them in the chat. And if you think you can forget, and then allow the speakers to speak so that we don't rush any of the speakers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Our next speaker that I'm going to introduce is Mr. Oliver. Mr. Oliver is an international keynote speaker, author, and leadership coach who has trained and spoken to over 23,000 speakers and delivered impactful presentations across 16 countries worldwide. Born in Cameroon and now based in the United States, Oliver brings a rare global lens to conversations on racism, identity, and human dignity. His work sits at the intersection of lived experience and leadership insight, helping individuals and organizations understand not just what racism is, but how it quietly shapes systems, relationships, and self-worth. In this powerful virtual keynote, Oliver is going to go beyond just theory to explore the real effects of racism on individuals and communities, and more importantly, how it can be disarmed through awareness, courage, and intentional dialogue. His approach is honest, compassionate, and solution-focused, creating space for reflection without blame and action without fear. Known for his ability to connect across cultures, generations, and belief systems, Oliver equips audiences with practical tools to challenge bias, foster empathy, and become agents of change in their own spheres of influence. His message is always clear. Racism thrives in silence, but it loses its power when confronted with truth, humanity, and love. Welcome to our second speaker, Mr. Oliver. The floor is yours and you have 15 minutes. Thank you for coming.
It was in October 2025 in the state of Minnesota, United States of America. I woke up from bed, got into my car, and drove to work. When I arrived at my office this day, my manager, Chris, paired me together with Serge. We got up and we drove to the field. On the fourth home, something happened that I will never forget. After we completed with our routine job in this particular home, the homeowner pulled out a $100 bill, smiled, handed over to my white colleague, Serge, and then left me out. And I started asking questions as we drove out of that home. How can it be possible that we do the same job? We risk the same danger. We stand in the same place, and we are valued differently. I started wondering and reflecting. And that was the first time, friend, I experienced firsthand racism in the United States of America. Some of you here might be wondering, what is racism? But for me, I will simply put it this way. Racism is when skin color becomes a measure of human value. That's, to me, racism, friend. This is not just my story. It is a concern for each and every one of us, because 1 in every 6 people, they have experienced racism, especially in United States of America, in Canada, in other northern countries, especially, again, when you're coming from the southern part of the world. And in the United States of America alone, over 60% of the population, they say that racism is a widespread problem, and something got to be done about that. How can we be able to fight racism with courage, with uncomfortable conversation? By taking action, being accountable, and showing empathy to each other. And I want to start by saying a big thanks to Ajay, who did a very powerful presentation. And the stories she shared were so emotional, and I could feel her energy. I equally want to thank the Canada Virtuous Women Association for this opportunity to be part of this conversation. I want to thank Marilyn for doing a great job and for raising the great speaker, the son that just did the talk. I admire that. And to say the least, trees don't choose which branches get sunlight. The sun shines on all of them. Only human beings create shadows for each other. Trees do not choose which branches get sunlight. The sun shines on all of them. But only human beings create shadows for each other. That day, I realized something. Racism is actually not natural. It is learned. And if truly racism is learned, there is good news. We can unlearn it. We can definitely unlearn it. And so the question is, how do we unlearn racism as a Black community, as people of color, living in the northern part of the world, in Canada, in United States of America, in Germany, in England, wherever you are? We first have to understand that racism is not something that started today. It started way back in the 18th and the 19th century, when European thinkers started classifying human beings into colors, into races. And that is how it began, and the impact has been felt worldwide today. A fateful day, together with my very good friend, DeAndre, here in America, we went out to do a similar routine job. And there was this guy that started yelling and shouting and screaming at us when we parked our vehicle. He simply saw two Black people park their car and were walking into a home. That was not even his own home. And he started shouting and screaming and asking questions. What are you guys doing there? And when my friend DeAndre overheard him saying, what are you guys doing there? He got pissed off because DeAndre, born and raised in America from Chicago, he had experienced racism more than myself. He knew exactly what the dude meant. So this white guy, as we're getting busy about our business, he pulled up his phone, put on the camera, and then started recording us as if we were armed robbers. And when he was recording us, my friend DeAndre got really, really, really pissed off and stopped what we were doing and then went straight to his door, confronted him directly, and asked him to shut the phone down. If not, he was going to do something crazy. As DeAndre was confronting this gentleman, I was there in the home having conversation with the homeowner and reporting the incident directly to her. And DeAndre successfully confronted the man, and he stopped recording the videos, and we urged him to delete from his phone. As he was doing all of that, the homeowner became so empathetic, so emotional, and started crying. When she was crying, I realized then that this was a serious case. When my colleague, DeAndre, finished confronting this guy, joined me back in the home where we were working at, the lady continued crying again. And she did not only cry, she hugged us. That kind of a hug that lasts for 5 minutes. That was exactly what we received from this homeowner. And on behalf of the community, the area where she was living, she apologized for us. And immediately we called back the office. And our office manager started crying on the phone. She apologized equally for us. And there's this question she asked, which I will never forget. She was like, hey, Oliver and Andre, we were all Black. What do you think about us calling police for this case. I was the first person that yelled, go ahead and call the police. And you will not believe what happened. This particular guy who confronted us was eventually handed over to the cops. I don't know how the story ended, but that is the role we played. We promised ourselves we could not let him go cut-free because what he did was against human value, was against human dignity, was against the community and the values of the Black community. And that is why it was important that he should face justice for what he did. And as we talk today, I don't know exactly how the situation is, but all I know is that together with my friend, DeAndre, we did what we were supposed to do with courage because we confronted him and we rebuked him. And even if he would do that in the future to another person, he will have a second thought that this is inhuman and this is not going to help him at all. And this literally would get him into trouble again in America. So, friend, the question I have for you now is, how have you been able to confront racism with courage, with empathy, and with accountability? Just like Ajay would say, you have to listen to people with stories of racism and just listen with some empathy and try to understand life from their own point of view. And in any way you can support them, go ahead and do it. And one of the ways you could do that could just be by listening with empathy and listening to really hear what they are saying and not listening to ask them questions, but just listening to let them know that there's someone they can lean on. And that's one is you. Because don't forget, we are a community and we are children of one continent. And one day we shall all go back to that continent and build it up. And so if we don't do something right now, we don't confront it, what do you think we are going to give our children? What do you think we're going to tell our children as a role that we played to end racism, to stop racism, or to mitigate racism? So my challenge to everybody in this conversation tonight is, what are you doing in your little corner to put an end to this quagmire? What effort are you putting today, tomorrow, and any other day to ensure that people are treated as human beings, as people they are, not as animals? What are you going to do? What stories are we going to tell about you and the role you played in your time? And you may say tomorrow will come. You will do it any other time. But I want to let you know, tomorrow might be late. And if we fail to do something right now, a generation is rising that will accuse us, that will blame us because we failed in executing and in playing our role. And if we don't start it right now, it might be late to start it again. And I want to challenge you that this is the time for us to begin it. And now is the time. And you is part of the team. And for us to get this out, each and every one of us need to be a team player. Once again, thank you so much for having me. I wish you a wonderful rest of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Oliver. Thank you so much. And what a day, what a time, what to learn. Racism is learned and can be unlearned. That is my take home. I would like to ask Miss Nafisato if she can do us a very brief resume of what Mr. Oliver spoke, and then we'll continue from there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Oliver. And thank you again, Mrs. Marilyn. So, on avait le privilège d'entendre Monsieur Oliver nous partager son histoire par rapport à ce qu'il a expérimenté. Il a commencé par ce qui lui est arrivé en octobre 2025 à Minnesota, où il a fait du même travail que l'un de ses collègues et la dame a donné 100 dollars à son coéquipier et lui, il n'a rien reçu. Et c'est là qu'il a vraiment ressenti qu'il y avait quelque chose qui n'allait pas. Et sa définition de racisme, c'est lorsque la couleur de notre peau devient la valeur majeure qui décrit un homme. Lorsque votre couleur de peau est la valeur majeure qui vous décrit en tant qu'homme. Et on s'est rendu compte qu'aux États-Unis, et qui est même affecté dans les autres régions du monde, le racisme est quelque chose de vrai, le racisme est quelque chose de réel. Et il est vraiment très répandu. Alors nous devons user de courage, nous devons pouvoir confronter, nous devons avoir de l'empathie avec les autres, nous devons prendre nos responsabilités et que les structures aussi prennent leurs responsabilités par rapport à ce problème de racisme. Et il a aussi mentionné que nous devons prendre le temps d'écouter. Des personnes traversent des choses, des situations dans lesquelles leur couleur de peau a été un problème ou une emphase à leur avancement. Il faudrait qu'on puisse aussi écouter leurs exemples. Et l'une des représentations qu'il a utilisées, c'est la représentation d'un arbre. Il a dit, l'arbre ne choisit pas s'il reçoit les rayons du soleil. Le soleil rayonne sur toutes les branches de l'arbre, mais ce n'est que nous, en tant qu'êtres humains, qui apportons des ombres sur d'autres branches. Ça veut dire que le racisme n'est pas naturel. Le racisme, c'est quelque chose qu'on a appris et une bonne nouvelle, c'est quelque chose qu'on peut aussi désapprendre. Et il a terminé sur ceci. Qu'est-ce que toi ou moi, nous tous qui sommes connectés et tous ceux qui vont écouter ce streaming après, qu'est-ce que nous faisons pour apporter une fin au racisme? Est-ce que nous nous levons vraiment dans les conversations? Est-ce que nous nous levons pour que cela puisse s'arrêter? Vous et moi, nous faisons partie de cela, alors jouons notre partie. Merci.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nafisatu, for that succinct translation. Mr. Oliver, you did justice to this topic, and I had a lot to learn from there. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. Thank you. We're still in this. We still have at least 55 minutes to go. We have a survey link that we're going to post in the chat, and we expect and we're pleading with everybody to click on the link and fill out what they can fill in it so we can capture what the survey is all about. For those who were here last year, for those who were first and second to fill out the survey, I just want to throw this in. There was a prize at the end. We don't know about this year, so take it as a challenge. Take it as you want to be the first person to fill the link. And there you go. The link is in the chat group. Thank you. Mr. Oliver said something about trees do not choose which branches get sunlight. Only human beings create shadow for each other. That is the one thing that I will take from this, and I'll hold it because I want to walk around and also be able to bring sunlight to the branches or to the other people that I will meet. Okay, we have a third speaker that we will need to listen to tonight. Our third speaker is called Coach Leah. Leah, which is Irene Asanji. She is all the way in Brampton, Ontario, Canada. Irene Asanji is a Canadian of Cameroonian origin, a transformational life coach, a keynote speaker, an author, and a singer. She is the founder of Dr. Leah Coaching Solutions, shifting mindset and building resilient individuals, corporate leaders, and communities. Her audiences describe her as a speaker and coach who touches the heart and the soul, driving change and transformation. Irene has spoken to thousands globally across Europe, North America, Africa, the Middle East, and the Caribbean. She is multilingual and authored 3 books, including Master Resilience and Become Unstoppable, The Champion's Manual. She's also the creator of the 6C framework on resilience and purpose, and the organizer of the transformational event titled Unleash the Unstoppable You. She holds a Bachelor in Journalism and Mass Communication, a Master's in Visual Anthropology, Project Management, and multiple coaching certifications. Just so you know, Coach Leah is a proud member of the Canada Virtuous Women. So we have our own in-house brainbox, boombox, a woman who comes with so many facets to speak to us today on racism. Over to you, Coach Leah. You have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much, Marilyn. Thank you, Canada Virtuous Women, for having me. It's such an honor to be in the house today to talk about a topic that touches every facet of life. I want to appreciate the first two speakers, Ajay Tierney. You were awesome. Coach Oliver Shum, my colleague, coach and speaker. I love you dearly. I appreciate you. And thank you for sharing that powerful story. Marilyn, I would like to get permission. I would like to share some slides because I will not just be speaking, but I'll also be doing illustrations that I would like our audience to capture. So if you can give me sharing privileges, that'll be appreciated.
Please, host, can we give Coach Leah sharing privileges?
She should be able. Did she try?
Go on, Coach Leah. Try sharing your screen. There you go.
Okay. Okay. You got it? All right. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So today I will be talking about voices in racism, finding your voice in the conversation. What is your voice in this conversation? Before we proceed, I would recommend that you grab a piece of paper. Everybody grab a piece of paper. Every time you hear a voice in this conversation on racism that resonates with you, put a 1. At the end of our conversation, I would like to know how many ones you got. Are we okay? Is everybody ready with that?
Can you say that again?
Okay. I would suggest that everybody should take a piece of paper and a pen or a notebook and be ready. I'm going to be bringing out some voices in this racism conversation. And every time you hear a voice that sounds like you, just mark a 1 or give a tick. At the end of this, that's an exercise that will be ongoing as you listen to this presentation.
Okay.
I'll tell you why at the end of the presentation.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Can you put this thing on slideshow? Can you click on slideshow on the top of the screen because it's kind of showing everything. Slideshow, click on slideshow. Just up. Just underneath where you see voices of right up.
Give me a moment, please.
Up again, take your breath.
Or down below. Down to your right-hand side.
Okay, give me 1 moment. Let me get my glasses. Okay, we're good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're good now.
All right,
Thank you.
You are welcome. All right, so voices in racism. Finding your voice in the conversations. We've heard the history, we've heard the dynamics of racism, we've heard the institutional racism, we've heard interpersonal experiences. As people of color, known as visible minorities in a country like Canada, where I'm speaking from, and every other person in this audience that is listening to me, you all represent a race. You know that you are different from others or you're similar to others. And in different rooms, different conversation tables, you are viewed differently. People treat you differently. There are voices that either amplify racism, voices that contribute to racism, voices that sustain racism, voices that can change the narrative for the better. So, what's the first voice? When I was invited to speak as a speaker on this platform, I reflected on my personal life. When I came to Canada, I came with so many dreams. I left Cameroon after working as a journalist, a broadcaster, got a scholarship from the Norwegian government, went to Norway, studied visual anthropology, interacted with Norwegians and other nationals because my university was an international university. I rubbed shoulders with other races. I felt racism in a different way. But because we were at a place where everyone was coming to represent their country in an educational institution, it wasn't obvious on campus that racism existed. But in the society, when we interacted with people, we could feel, we could smell it, we could hear it. Questions like Noska, the right to back a Yama, like when are you traveling back to your country, reminded us that we were just visitors. We were not there to stay. For others that were permanent residents in Norway and back to Canada, where I am today, others that are permanent residents in Canada, and those who have obtained a passport and are now Canadian citizens, a question like, when are you traveling back to your country? Quand est-ce que vous allez retourner chez vous? Are offensive questions and have racist undertones, reminding you that you are a visitor and your time was numbered in Canada. Now, what voices amplify racism? The offensive voice is one of those voices. The offensive voice is the voice that goes all out, intentionally expressing racism in words, actions, discrimination, and exclusion. They have a sense of entitlement to conversation tables and spaces because they are, you cannot be. Like Ajay told you, when you come into places like a coach, a speaker, in a white collar position where you're commanding authority, people ask you without words, with their eyes, why you are there. How did you earn your space? Because those spaces are reserved for others and not for you. So the offensive voice tells you outrightly, you don't belong here. Quand est-ce que vous allez retourner chez vous? You are meant for the warehouse. You are meant for PSW jobs. You're not supposed to be a director. When I applied to become a public policy maker in an Ivy League university, and maybe one of the professors that actually did my reference letter is actually on this Zoom right now. When I applied in 2021, overqualifying for that position, I was surprised at the last minute to be told that I was not accepted. A position that was going to be fully funded by the Canadian government for people to become members of the public policy department, like the voices in parliament, and you know what that means. I was told I was not accepted. I overqualified for this position. Why was I not accepted? The reason was this. One of my references refused granting a referral for me. But that was a lie, because both of my references were so excited and told me I qualified for this and actually BCC'd me in their reference letters to that university. It was obvious this was a lie. And that was systemic racism. The one where they tell you something else, but they intended something else. I was not the face for the Canadian Parliament. I was not the face for public policy in high places in Canada. That hurt. But you see, some of these offensive voices don't come to you directly, they come to you indirectly. By rejection, you apply for a job, which I also did at one point in time in Canada. 2 months down the road, I still saw the posting, but I was told the position had been filled with a polite letter. We appreciate your credentials. We would like you to hang on to our database because in future we may have a position that befits you. What position would befit me more than the befitting position? A question for another day. You see, offensive voices, these are voices that are dangerous, but often backed by ignorance. Why do I say ignorance? Because if people knew what they ought to know, they will not do what they are doing. That's my conviction. That's my belief. But again, some voices remain intentionally offensive, and they are offensive for a lifetime. Nothing we can do will change them. What's the next voice? And if you are the offensive voice, just put a 1. The next voice is the defensive voice. They give back the same energy they received from the offensive racist. They insist on their own identity and defend it with equal racist intention. They express racism in words, actions, and discriminatory and exclusionary practices. They have a sense of entitlement to conversation tables and spaces. Yes, I also belong there because you say I don't belong, I will show you that I belong. They take it by force, but sometimes with violence that has repercussions. These voices are equally dangerous and often backed by vengeance. And we all know vengeance doesn't solve all the problems. If you are the defensive voice, you have a right to do that. I respect it. Are you that voice? Put another one. My third voice here is the non-responsive voice. They are also known as a neutral voice. They say nothing but observe a lot. They display a false image of peace, but within them, their interests matter most. They neither speak against racism nor for racism. It is hard to know where they really belong. They are situationally racist. I'll explain that. They are the most dangerous voices of racism because guess what? Their silence empowers racism in workplaces, in communities, in schools, and policy rooms. They cannot be trusted. You know, these people, they are neither Peter nor Paul, but they support Peter when it's convenient and they support Paul when it's convenient. If you see them on Facebook, when there's a post against racism, they are there commenting with a false name. When you see another post on Facebook against racism, they are there commenting with another false name. You don't know which direction they go, but guess what? These people, if it's going to fill their pockets, they will sign up petitions for racism. And they will also sign up petitions against racism if the benefit is in their favor. Are you a non-responsive voice in racism? Put another one. And before I get to the fourth voice, I want to remind us that uncomfortable conversations create the irritations that bring the transformations that we need. Transformation doesn't always have to be convenient. It is uncomfortable. That is why not everybody takes it. I'll recall once again, the first voice was the offensive voice. Offensive people are weak people. They are aggressive because they don't want to try any other option. And then you have the defensive people. They are also pursuing a journey that is not convenient. Why? Because it's easy to pay them back. Let's fight back and satisfy our egos that we thought. But does that bring a lasting solution? A question for another day. And then you have the non-responsive people. They say nothing, but silence is powerful because even the blind can see silence in a case of racism. Martin Luther King says, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Bad things happen when good people do nothing about it. If you are non-responsive, you are empowering a narrative that doesn't bring us anywhere. So, what is it about the transformative voice? Who is that voice? The transformative people are the people who may or may not have experienced racism, but who understand the impact of racism on the world. They have decided to transform their painful experiences into purpose. They speak against racism boldly because it is right to say the right thing against the wrong thing. They speak with love and call out evil when the opportunity presents itself. You know, God is a God of love. For Christians like myself, God loves us, but He doesn't spare evil. He corrects, He rebukes, and He calls us out and reminds us where we're going to end up if we keep on on the path of racism. Hell awaits us. But outside of religion, let's get back to this. The transformative voice validates uniqueness without oppressing difference. I can be me and you can be you. I don't have to be me only when you are not you. I don't have to be vocal only when you're silent. In my uniqueness, I see the beauty of God's creation just like in your uniqueness. I can appreciate, validate, celebrate, and amplify the gift that God took time to create in you. When I look at you, looking the way you are, I imagine how beautiful the world is and how ugly the world would have been, how awkward it would have been if everyone looked like me or if everyone was just like you. So today, my sisters, the transformative voice, my brothers, the transformative voice is the voice that is like the Canada Virtuous Women's voice. Those that provide opportunities for discussion on racism, aiming to enlighten mindsets, erase ignorance, and reconcile divergent views. They understand that racial relationships may not be perfect overnight, but every effort counts, one action at a time. And that is why we're here today. This is not just to talk about something that is not going to work. Remember, what does neuroscience do? In neuroscience, we learn that our brain can change under consistent exposure to positive or negative environments or knowledge. In this environment right now, I can guarantee you that everything you've listened today, because it's positive, your brain is already absorbing positivity. And your neurons are running and firing and sending transmissions to every part of your body, reminding you that change is happening. And if you come back every other year and listen to stuff like this, I can guarantee you that change will happen to you. But imagine if you choose conversation rooms where only negativity is being taught and spoken and expressed. What change then can we expect in the world? You see, the word of God says that bad company corrupts good character. So you that came out of your mother's womb without any knowledge of racism, you walked in the world, you were nurtured by God, but then you were nurtured by your mother and your environment. If you were nurtured in racism, there is no guarantee that you will not be racist. But let's just say, perchance, that you were nurtured with love, inclusion, multiculturalism, respect for one another, embracing and accepting the beauty of God's creation, because God sat in his throne and he imagined all of us how we were going to look like. And here we are. If we could just embrace that. I know it sounds like I'm in a fairy tale world, something that cannot happen. But what are the odds that you are all here right now listening to this? You go back to your world and transfer this information. I can guarantee you there will be a change. Instead of looking at somebody and calling saying that their food smells, you can see that it is their fragrance against your smell. I respect your smell, but respect their fragrance. That's their environment. How can we bring our spices together in such a way that we can accept our differences, the orientation of our taste buds that God gave us, without bullying others, mocking others, and telling them that they smell bad, they look funny, they look different, their hair is ugly, their footsteps look awkward, and their accent is different. We all have accents from different perspectives. If we can look at everyone else and embrace their differences and their perspectives, validate them, respect them, honor them, just as we expect them to respect and honor us, we would be the transformative voice. At this point, brothers and sisters, I want to ask you, are you the where do you belong? How many voices do you have so far? At what point did you feel like, wait a minute, I have been this voice? At what point did you feel like, wait a minute, I have been this voice? At what point do you feel like I can be this voice now? I want to call you to action. Why are you holding on to your voice, the voice that you chose last? Is it the pain? Is it the fear? Is it the delayed justice? Is it your religious obligations? Is it the guilt? Is it your conscience? Or is it just ignorance? But you see, If ignorance were the case, know that it's no longer valid after tonight, because it is possible to move from an offensive, defensive, non-responsive, all the way to the uncomfortable but very possible transformative position and voice. Once again, after tonight, ignorance is no longer an excuse. Thank you very much for the opportunity. You have it in you to become transformative voices in your world. I love you all. Thank you once again, Canada Virtuous Women, for this honor. I would entertain any questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Coach Leah. This is very thoughtful and well put together. I will give the floor first to Ms. Nafisatu to do us a succinct translation before we come back. Over to you, Ms. Nafisatu.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. That was very powerful. So I will just give a summary of it. So, Madame Lia nous parlait sur les voies du racisme. Elle a présenté 4 voies qu'on peut avoir. Il y a la voie offensive. Ceux qui le parlent tout fort par leurs actions, par ce qu'ils font, par la discrimination. Ce sont des personnes dangereuses parce qu'ils pensent ils doivent le faire. Ils ont le titre, en fait. Ils ont la position pour pouvoir le faire. La deuxième type de voix, c'est les voix défensives. C'est comme des réponses. Ils ont un esprit de vengeance. Ils veulent juste rendre comme on leur a fait. La troisième type de voix, c'est ceux qui ne sont pas responsables, ceux qui ne font rien, en fait. Ils sont neutres. Ils ont une image de paix, mais au fond d'eux, ce sont des racistes de situation. Tout ce qu'ils veulent, c'est leurs propres intérêts. Et elle a noté que c'est ceux-là qui sont les plus dangereux parce que leur voix silencieuse donne de la force au racisme dans les lieux de travail. Et la quatrième voix, elle a parlé de la voix transformative, qui est une voix qui n'est pas facile, elle est inconfortable parce que vous devez avoir des conversations difficiles. Ces personnes ont peut-être ou pas expérimenté du racisme et ils comprennent l'impact que le racisme peut avoir dans une vie. Et ils se décident de se lever pour pouvoir élever leur voix, opposer le racisme et de pouvoir faire une action qui va changer la narrative. Elle a dit qu'elle ne croit pas à un conte de fées, mais elle croit qu'il y a une possibilité qu'on puisse quitter les 3 premiers et obtenir cette voie transformatrice-là. Et elle a posé la question, quelle est notre voie? Et ici, le mot de fin était autour de les compagnies que nous avons peuvent nous avoir donné une forme, les choses que nous avons appris, mais aujourd'hui, nous avons la capacité en nous de pouvoir quitter de la forme offensive, non offensive, neutre et finalement devenir des voies transformatrices. Merci.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nafisatu, for that very brief and yet concise translation from English to French on what Coach Leah brought to the table for us today. I want to thank every speaker, Ms. Ajay, Mr. Oliver, and Coach Leah for the most thoughtful way of presenting racism to us, diversity to us. And it may not mean a lot to us, but it means a lot to me when I look at it from that. The first speaker started with words like discrimination, shrinkage, denial, inequality. The second speaker talked about values. And then it ended up with the last speaker for me talking about ignorance is no longer an excuse. These words are words that are thrown around judiciously every day. We see them. When we get into the bus, we see them. When we're making phone calls in closed spaces, we see them. When we get to work, we see them, we hear them, we face them, we walk in them every day. So now I'm going to take a breather and I'm going to ask a question to the audience first. If there is any person in the audience that resonate with the stories that have been shared here today, that probably has a question or has an input, please let us do it in an organized manner. Raise your hand and we will give you an opportunity to speak. If you do not resonate with this but has a question for our speakers, please raise your hands and ask your questions. The floor is open, respectfully, for raisers of hands. Let's start. Who will be the first? And remember, once again, the survey link is in the chat. Please fill up the survey. Thank you. Maybe I'm going to start. I'm going to start because something resonated with me that I would also like to share. I may be the moderator, but I've also faced situations. My name is Marilyn, and I'm a registered nurse, and I work at hospitals as well as nursing homes. I've been a registered nurse in this country for 13 years. When I came to Canada, I came in with an engineering background, a master's degree, which I happen to have done it together with our head girl in the same university in Denmark. So coming into Canada, I decided, because I couldn't get any job at that time, 2008, the minimum wages for the kind of job we were supposed to do was not even up to $15. So I was doing customer service, and I was very proud to earn $500 every week. That was like my highest amount I took home. Then I decided that I wanted to rebrand myself and be who I am called to be, or be better for myself. So I went over and I started looking at things that I can do in order to be a better person. Nursing was the one thing that was standing out. Nursing was the only thing that my friends would advise me, the friends in the United States, the friends in Canada. I did my research and decided to go into pharmacy. The University of McGill in Quebec told me that from 2009, they had no opening for Black adult learners like myself. I can only come back in 2014 to get an admission into their university. I dumped that dream. At that time, my brother, who is currently in Oshawa Bay Orok, was also gearing to go to school. So we were looking for schools together. I saw another school in Montreal called Hazing College. I don't know people who live in Montreal. It's around the Lucien Lallier metro line. So I went to Hazing College and I said, oh, I wanted to go into pharmacy. Do you have any programs? The lady brought out a booklet and said, oh, we are closing admissions in 1 week, but there's a lot to learn. You have to know 200 drugs, their mode of actions and everything for you to be able to attend the interview, and we'll see if we'll give you admission. Mind you, I was late. The interview was in 1 week. I told her, I am smart. Give me that booklet. I will memorize this thing and come back to you. I memorized 200 drugs, mode of action and everything, went for the interview, scored the highest. And the CEO of that college stood up and told me, I refuse that we give you admission in this school. Reasons being that you are way more than this program. Go and get yourself into a program that will merit you. I sincerely want to thank that man because he made me a better person. I would have settled for less in Montreal. I left, I went to Ottawa, and I did a 2-year program, and I became a registered nurse. Fast forward to 13 years, which is like something that happened last week. I walked into my hospital and I had to care for a patient that had multiple hip fractures, and they are now in my unit. I walked in, and the first thing I did was, hi, my name is Marilyn. I'm a registered nurse. I'll be your nurse for today. She looked at me. She looked past me and saw the PSW that was behind me, that was a white girl, and said, are you my nurse? She ignored me. I'm like, okay, welcome to my world. I am used to these things. The other lady said, no, I'm not your nurse. Your nurse is Marilyn. And she just introduced herself. She goes, so she's the janitor. She was not hearing nurse. She was seeing color. She was not hearing color. She was seeing janitor. She was seeing janitor when she looks at me. So I said, ma'am, I'm going to excuse myself. When you're ready and you need a registered nurse, ring your bell, and one that befits you will come answer you. I left. She reported me to the management that I was rude to her. And management ran down the hallway and came to me, and that is when the biggest conversation had to happen, because management said, oh, this woman said you looked at her, you did not acknowledge her, you did not do this. I'm like, okay. I don't want to be confrontational, so we'll not go back to her so we can explain, but I want you to call this other person. There was another person there. So the little girl came in and said, no, this is not what happened. She explained, she stood up for me and everything. So management tried to downplay it because they got the truth, not from me, but from another person. But they tried to downplay it that she's a patient, she has mental issues, she's going through a lot and a lot. Then I told them, like, let's rephrase this thing. Pain is not a reason to abuse. Pain is not a reason to be silently aggressive. Pain is not a reason for you to look past me and wonder if I am qualified to take care of you. If you're truly in pain, whoever offers you help, you take it. So to me, this is a cover-up because she's white, I am black. Let's have a conversation. We were trained to be culturally sensitive in our care. When they look at me in the, if I don't look at them in the eye, I am classified a liar. But where I come from, if I look at my mom in the eye, I am disrespectful. When do we stand and tell these people to start learning our culture over us learning their culture and bending over that they can use and abuse and misuse and confuse us? To me, racism is not something that existed, especially as we give birth to our children. They learn it, just like Oliver said, and they can unlearn it. I told my manager I needed an apology from that patient, and I needed an apology from her to be able to work under her. If not, I am going to serve her a letter of resignation, but I'm going to write a letter to upper authorities because I need this followed up. Sometimes not accepting a job, you feel you're losing income. Our job are tools. God is our source. Sometimes being in a job and then not feeling like getting up in the morning and going to that job is because there is something that is sucking away the energy you have. Like Ajay said, when you raise your voice to speak, they think you're angry. When you stand up for yourself, they think you're defensive. Like Coach Leah said, when you look at these things, are you an offensive voice or are you a defensive voice? If I am loud, I become defensive. My message is thrown under the rug because they want to pick out just what they want to pick out to shrink you. I give the same service. I train new nurses. I stand the gap and I do a lot. But my name is never on the recognition list. The only day they will talk about my name being on a list is if they go to the sunshine list that does exist in Canada and they see that I make more money than them. They wonder. Because I fit in a box that they have described. But to me, I am a transformational voice and I choose to stand out irrespective of the consequences. I know my rights. I am human and I give it out with love. Thank you.
Wow. Oh, what a story. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Oh, we have a couple of hands up. Unfortunately, you're the speaker. So
Yeah, I was just taking a moment.
yes. Oh my
I
God.
think we're going to take the first person who happens to be on my screen, Mrs. Nafisatu. Over to you. And the next person is going to be Mrs. CAVIWO. So get ready.
All right. Well, I will speak in English. Thank you so much, all the speakers. I was genuinely blessed and nourished. So my question is coming in the perspective of bringing a balance. So in that regard, where especially I apologize for the background noise, especially to Coach Leah, but any of the speakers can answer this question. So my question is, in which place we will position actually cultural inversion? I am well aware of everything that is happening, but I also see sometimes some part of exaggeration, some part of pushing our culture into other people just in the sake of wanting to be accepted. I'll take a simple example. There was a case in the workplace where it was a peanut-free environment, but the person said, everybody in my country is eating peanut, nobody has died of it. And it actually caused a reaction into another person. So sometimes there's that sense of also entitlement on the other side. I don't know if it's falling on the second type of voices, but I would like to have also what is the limit too, because we also shouldn't expect people to be like, for example, our smell can also bring for somebody to vomit. It's not that he hates me, but it brings a reaction to him. So my question is really, where is the balance? Where do we also draw the line that we also doesn't cross? I'll take a simple example. Paris in France. There are some places in Paris that is even worse than some neighborhoods in Africa. People pee on the road. People just do whatever they want to do. And at the moment you want to just rebuke them, they'll be like, you are racist. Whereas what you're doing is genuinely wrong. So what's the limit? Thank you. That was my question.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you very much. I remember mentioning their smell, my fragrance, or my fragrance, their smell. Okay, I love that. You know, it is very important that even in our uniqueness, right, we do not cross other people's boundaries, because it will become offensive. That's true. What I'm underlining here is the fact that as much as we may have our culture that we've brought into a country that accepts us, we have to also respect other people's boundaries without imposing, and at the same time, not insulting other people or making a mockery of what they find as their culture. Respecting everybody's perspective, but finding a common ground in which we can operate without offending others. For example, workplaces have their culture. There's always a culture in a culture, right? Workplaces have a culture. If a culture is a fragrance-free environment or smell-free, you can't be carrying your watafufu and arrow. For Cameroonians who know watafufu and arrow, you go and put in a microwave in a common lunch room. You have to think about lunches that are friendly to everyone. It's not because you love your sweet and sour or you love your curry so much that you must carry it to a workplace. In your home, it's fine. If you pass and sit in the bus, maybe you're not conscious of the fact that you've brought your curry in the bus. Of course, it may be offensive. It will be offensive. But do I turn around and insult you? Go back to India because you eat curry and go and eat your curry in India. That is where there's a problem. There are ways in which we can communicate. We can choose communications and let people know that what they are doing is encroaching in our into our spaces and making us uncomfortable and setting the boundary. I can't come to somebody's house and tell them how to eat their food. But there are people that are so racist that they will tell you that even in your house you should not eat your fufu and arrow because they hate it. There are people that will tell you that even in your house you should not eat your curry because they don't like it. However, why should I carry my kids? My kids are going to school from kindergarten to today that they're in secondary school or high school. They have never taken anything that had peanuts to school because I am aware that in this culture in Canada, there are people that are allergic even to eggs and beans. I can't change that. I will not say that because I eat beans, that's my staple meal, I should impose it. So what we are emphasizing here is finding a way of mutually respecting other spaces that we can communicate without being overly and intentionally racist. Because communication that is intentionally racist is not helping to change the problem. But communication that is intentionally pointing out where I'm being offended, where it hurts, my pain points, that's the transformative one. Every other voice only brings a problem. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you, Coach Leah. I don't know if any of the other speakers want to chip in something to clarify or to add a voice to what Coach Leah said. Nafisatu answered in the group chat that yes, you answered a question, and thank you.
Thank you, Nafi.
Sorry, we cannot hear you, Ajay.
I was like, so can you hear me?
Yeah, but it's breaking.
Can you hear now?
Yeah. No, we cannot hear you.
No?
Maybe you have to sign out and sign back in. Sometimes that helps. I think her internet froze on her because she's frozen on the screen and I can see other people that are on video move their head. I don't know if Mr. Oliver has anything to add. If not, while we wait for Ajay to come back. Ajay, are you back? You're muted. I think she's still having some difficulties.
I think we just continue with other people when she comes back.
Yeah.
That she can do.
Yeah.
Sister Miranda, please pay attention to your phone. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Oliver, I don't know if you have something to add. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Maruli. People ask me all the time when I work with speakers, when I speak in conferences in the United States, where are you coming from? Well, before they ask me where I'm coming from, like I'm coming from Central West Africa, Cameroon, blah, 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 blah. And they kept asking me, and I realized that most of the time they ask me where am I coming from, not because they really want to know where I'm coming from, They just want to put me in a box, which I refuse to be in that box. So henceforth, when somebody asks me where you come from, I'm like, from the planet. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the world is a global village. We have a different unit, we are in the universe, we are planet Earth. That's where I'm coming from. And I just kind of really because they don't ask me where I'm coming from to really know who I'm coming from. They want to put me in a box. Then I just become offensive or defensive. Like Irene would say, I put them in a bigger box where they'll get more confused. I'm like, I am from the planet, and the part of the planet I am from is called the Earth. Is that okay by you? And that is the answer I give most of the people when they ask me, I'm just like, what the heck are you talking about? So that is for me. I try to do that, especially when I sense that, they're not really intentional in the question they're asking. They just want to poke me. I go that way. Some people, they ask me, I tell them that I'm from West Africa, Cameroon, and all of that. So just to balance up. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Oliver. Sometimes to me, those questions are also like a deal breaker or an opening conversation where we can get to start knowing each other and then build what I can teach you about Africa, because most of them know Africa as a country and not a continent. So irrespective of the country you tell them you're coming from, they will tell you, oh, you come from Africa, South Africa. Or yeah, some of them can pinpoint it, but that is a good conversational opener for me. While Miss Ajay dropped in her comment in the chat saying respecting public spaces and its norm. So I guess she's saying that rules applies in public spaces, and irrespective of what we do, we have to respect those spaces and then follow the rules and the norms of them. So I'm gonna give it over to Mrs. Nkabio. She has her hand up to share.
Thank you very much.
What she has. Over to you, ma'am.
Very much. Thank you, Sister Marilyn. Kudos to all our speakers. You guys have been amazing. I have a couple of questions, but I will start by doing asking a question to Mr. Oliver. Oliver, if he feels the same offensive way when a Black person asks him where you're coming from, because I think that we had that question from both the whites and Blacks. This afternoon, one of my colleagues asked me, she's Black, where are you coming from? So would you have the same reaction if it's a Black person asking you that same question?
Thanks. What's his name? Her name, please. Sorry, I didn't see the name of the person.
My name is Bertha.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor. Great question. I'm doing some work with the world's best hospital, Mayo Clinic. So today, I closed from work. So on my way home, there were 4 security people on their desk, and I passed through the gate. I was going out of the main entrance, and I saw a Black lady. And then she looked at me, and she was like, she knows me. That kind of look where somebody's looking at you is like, probably she knows you, she doesn't know you, she want to know you and all of that. So I stopped, and then I came back, passed through the gate again. And so the security, I asked them to give me access. So I walked up to her desk and I was like, do you know me? And then she immediately asked me, are you from Ghana? And I was like, no, I'm not from Ghana, but from Cameroon. And so she said, I thought maybe you're from Ghana. And that really resonated with what you're talking about. Anytime somebody from Africa asks me, which part of Africa are you coming from? I'm always excited, to even give a response that I'm from Central Africa, I'm from the Republic of Cameroon. It kind of gives me joy even before I say where I'm coming from, And just to balance up things, there are whites that ask me where I'm coming from, and I sense the genuinity, the authenticity of why they're asking that. And I literally tell them that, hey, I'm from Central Africa, I'm from Cameroon. And they're like, oh, wow, good. Then there are some people when they ask, the voice, the tone, the intention behind that, I'll sense it out. And when I sense that, I'll tear them down from the earth. And that's a long conversation, it could be a shorter conversation. So to answer your question, I'm excited anytime an African asks me, which part of Africa are you from? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And just so that I don't take all the time, that would lead me to asking any of the other speakers, do you think Black people are racists?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Do agree. I think so.
Yes.
Black people are racist. Racism
Yes.
is not relegated only to one race. Racism is a personal issue. It's a personal problem. Even within races, there's some kind of intra-racism happening. People that believe that those that are fair-skinned are better than those that are darker-skinned, like in India. While we out here in Canada, we can find people who are, racist against Indians, for example. Inside India, there are people in India who are racist against their own people in the same country, but because they look different from them. Black people like you and I, our conversations, if we were to hide a microphone, a fly on the wall in our bedrooms, we have to be honest. When we're talking about these things, we're not just coming to blame everybody. If they were to hide a mic in our bedrooms with a camera to record our conversations behind the doors about other races, we will find that racism also exists amongst Black people. There's something, the Truth and Reconciliation, committee that came up to reconcile the injustice against the indigenous people in Canada. And of course, to remember back in the days of apartheid, Desmond Tutu and all that championed that, was because we have to be honest. For reconciliation to happen, for solutions to happen, there has to be honesty. We can say all these things here and be very politically correct in this room, and I'm talking even to myself.
Coach Leah, can you put on your camera, please? Thank you.
Oh.
She has two devices, so
yes, I was
camera
using
is
the other.
on, for volume.
Okay. You prefer this one? Okay. All right. Sorry. So I was saying that racism also exists among Black people. And if we were to have a fly on the wall in the bedrooms and the dinner tables in Black homes and communities, we will record conversations that are very racist against white people, against Indians, against other people that are different from us. So Black people, yes, are racist. And sadly enough, there are also people, Black people, dark-skinned people from the Caribbean that do not look at us Africans as the same as them. They consider us totally different. And like Oliver was saying, there are people that have met me and asked me, where are you from? And I know clearly they're from the Caribbean, maybe Jamaica, Bahamas, and the rest. Where are you from? And I say, I'm from Cameroon. Where is that? Sometimes I'll make you feel like you're from some strange planet. That is racism speaking. And sometimes it could be honest ignorance inquiry, seeking an answer. But in many occasions, some of these questions are on the tones of racism. So I would suggest that while we are exploring this, we should go back again and look at what stages in our lives have we had the offensive voice, defensive, non-responsive, and when are we really walking genuinely to transformative voice? Thank you. I hope that answered your question, Mama B.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Miss Ajay, I don't know for what reason we cannot hear you. I can see that you're speaking, but I cannot hear you. I don't know.
Ethel has a hand up, Tabby. Maybe
Yeah.
take some other person,
Yeah.
please. We have 2 minutes left.
Okay, we're gonna move on to Ethel. Over to you, Ethel.
No, thank you very much. Just in the interest of time, I know we have just 1 minute. So I'm just going to make my question very brief and straightforward. How do you overcome unconscious bias? It's just going to be question to the panel. It's not directed to any specific speaker. Whoever can answer that, I really appreciate it.
Okay, I can attempt that. I can answer that. Unconscious bias, first of all, is the bias that you have and you're not aware. And why? Because it comes from your nature, your nurture, how you grew up, the things that were normal to you, the things we are used to. And then you find someone else, and without intention, you are judging them based on your bias. You expect that when you see somebody, this is how they should eat, this is how they should chew, this is how they should talk, because you've grown in an environment where you were groomed to behave and speak and act in a particular way. How to overcome that is that the moment you find out that you're no longer living in your father's house, I'm not even going to talk about leaving Cameroon and coming to Canada. I'm talking about leaving your family home and moving to another province, or integrating with other people that do not grow up with you, do not learn what you learned, do not practice what you practice. That moment, you have to have the cultural humility and sensitivity to know that people are different from you. You have that responsibility to learn about other people, to learn about what is special to them. And even if you're encountering them for the first time, step behind a little bit and give them the opportunity to present themselves to you in their perspective without judging. Because if you do that, you will be getting rid of unconscious bias. The bias will be saying, why this person talks so? Why is he speaking like this? And then your consciousness and sensitivity and cultural humility will be saying, let me give them a chance to explain where they're coming from. They may be saying a point, may be different from me. There's something I can learn here. How does my reaction make them feel? That changes everything.
Thank you so much, Coach Leah. I think you did justice to that. It is 10 o'clock. And we were told we have this platform from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Sincerely, time went by like water today, like a tap that was open, because these conversations were the best we could have. And I hope, Ethel, that your question was answered by Coach Leah. There is the survey link in the chat. Please fill out the survey. Please, please, please do us a favor and fill it out. Most of the answers on the survey will determine if we come back next year. We are so happy to have you all. Thank you, every speaker. Thank you to the head girl of the Canada Virtuous Women for giving us this opportunity to gather here again this year in order to talk about topics that are hidden, topics that have been silent, topics that are bruising, and topics that are harming our community. We as a community have a lot to learn. We as a community have a lot to teach. We as a community have a lot to overcome. But we can only do it if we stand as one. The voices we've heard today, the faces we've met today, it may be on Zoom, but this is not the end. Meet us same time next week, Thursday, February 19, as we continue these discussions virtually. And on the 21st of February, for all of you that know somebody who knows another somebody that lives in Ottawa, Canada, please invite them. We'll be having the in-person to finalize this. It is a very rich and well-packed event for us. We are looking at it from different perspectives, and I cannot tell you all how much more I have learned about multiculturalism, diversity, inclusion, equality, and racism. And I know you all can learn the same. Thank you, Canada Virtuous Women, for giving us this platform. We will not close without hearing from our head girl to thank us and bless us before we go. Over to you, my head girl.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. Thank you, every speaker. Thank you, Oliver Shang. Thank you, Coach Leah and Ajay. Thank you so much. And our most famous BJ of all. That was so powerful. That was so powerful tonight. I'm in love with each speaker, and there is always a lesson learned. One of the questions that was asked was, do we Black people also practice racism? And when Betta asked that question, I looked at myself, I said, oh, I'm one of those people. Maybe you only think that some people are racist towards you. I was once a racist too. I remember that when I was in Europe, I said I would never marry a white guy for anything on earth. That was racism on my part. I did not know that was racism until I had to unlearn that. I say this in the air because we should not think that the racism only comes from the other people. But I was one of those who said I would never marry a white guy. There is no way I would marry a white guy. So that was racist. But I did not even know that that's racism. But when I began to understand what racism is, then I knew that I have to unlearn that and remove that from my heart, that kind of thought. Because what if God says, that's the only guy that I made for you? What are you going to do? So those things are things that some people do unconsciously. That's why I like what somebody also asked, the question of unconscious bias. This is why I like these conversations, because sometimes some things are unconscious. Believe me, I did not even know that that was racism when I said that. So thank you, everybody. I like these contributions. We're going to continue this conversation on Thursday, same time, like Marilyn already announced. So join us. It will be the same Zoom link. So don't change the Zoom link. And we invite everybody to join us and join the conversation. If you have more questions, maybe you didn't get a chance today, please bring them next Thursday, same time. Let's have those conversations. And we will have the in-person too. And everyone is invited. For the in-person, you have to register. So I want to really thank you all, every speaker. We love you. We hope to continue this every year, because the more we talk about it, that's how we get rid of it. The more we talk about it, even us, the Black community, we learn too that we don't have to practice racism. Thank you so much for tonight. We really love you and appreciate you.